Hi, I'm Claire Akin with Indigo Marketing Agency, and I help top advisors like you use their websites and their digital marketing to get more leads. Today, I want to welcome you to our July webinar, 5 Tools to Double Your Website Conversion Rate. So we're going to talk about 5 powerful strategies that top advisors are using on their websites to get more conversions. Because no matter who you are as an advisor, your marketing depends on your website's conversion rate. And a lot of advisors out there are spending time and money to send traffic to their site. But if we were able to double your website conversion rate, we would double the return on those investments and double your leads. And so we're going to have a special guest today, Jay Moreland, who runs The Emotional Investor, and he's an expert in the psychology of website engagement. So he's going to talk to us about why these tools are so important. I'm going to walk you through the 5 tools, and I'm going to show you how to implement them. And then at the end, stick around because we'll be giving away a free gift that's really valuable to your website to get started today. All right, let's dive right in.
All right, so today we're going to talk about 5 tools to double your website conversions today. And so we're going to introduce 5 easy tools that you can use on any website platform to improve your marketing today and into the future. Before we jump into that, let me give you a little bit of background on our 2 presenters. I'm Claire Akin. I am a former investment advisor. My dad is an investment advisor as well, so I kind of grew up in the business. I have a bachelor's degree in economics and a master's degree in marketing. I worked with a company called FMG Suite, which is a leading website provider for financial advisors, before I started my own company, Indigo Marketing Agency, to help specialist advisors use digital marketing to market to a specific niche or demographic. I'm the author of the LinkedIn Guide for Financial Advisors, which you can purchase on Amazon today, and the instructor of the LinkedIn course for financial advisors, which you can learn more about on my website. We'll have special guest Jay Moreland, who is an expert in the psychology of engagement, walking us through the psychology of website engagement today. Jay is the president of The Emotional Investor. He's also a former investment advisor representative, and he has a master's degree in applied economics. He's the author of The Emotional Investor, and he serves as a coach to top advisors today. So we're going to cover a lot. First, we'll talk about your website's conversion rate and give you some background on what a typical conversion rate looks like. And then I'll break down the 5 strategies to double your conversion rate. Jay will walk us through the psychology of website engagement, and then we'll talk about how to get started implementing the 5 tools so you can increase your conversions right away. Stick around till the end of the webinar where you'll get your free gift. So let's talk about your website's conversion rate. Many advisors today don't know what their conversion rate is, and they're not really aware of how well their website is converting leads, if at all. So let's talk about some background. So your website conversion rate is how well your website is converting the traffic or visitors to your website into actual leads. So people who make an appointment with you, whether it's scheduling a phone call or filling out a form or requesting a report, whatever your leads are on your site, and it may be different for each advisor, but we want to know how much traffic is coming to your site and what % of that traffic is actually turning out to be a lead that you can follow up with and that may eventually become a client. So for an average advisor, the average advisor's website gets about 300 visits per month, and we know that through Google Analytics. And so you want to make sure that you have Google Analytics set up on your website so that you can track not only your traffic, but the behavior of your traffic on your website. And I have a course for Google Analytics for financial advisors if you're interested in getting started on that to learn more about how to get set up. So the typical conversion rate for an advisor's website is only 1 to 3%. So that's pretty dismal. Even if you're getting 300 visits to your website per month, you're probably only getting about 3 leads, which is not ideal. And so if we're able to double that conversion rate, or maybe even triple it, you can see that obviously it would be a big impact to your leads every single month. And so we really want to get you from 1 to 2%, which you're probably at today, to 3 to 5%, and that will go a long way in increasing your leads in the future. So the tips to increasing your conversion rate is basically you want to start by capturing your visitors' attention, lowering the emotional stakes for them so that it is more likely that they'll take the next step and they feel more comfortable about working with you and taking the next step with you. And then offering an easier next step. And so we really want to make it as easy as possible for them to take the next step and make sure we demystify all of their fears about taking the next step with you so that they're more likely to become a lead. And so those are kind of the goals of each of these 5 tools we're going to go through today. So the first tool is adding your differentiator to your website. And so that's really important because people want to know what makes you different. So your differentiator is, what one urgent problem do you solve for a specific group? So I help specialist financial advisors use digital marketing to get more leads. That's one urgent problem that I solve for a specific group of advisors. But what is it for you? And so if you don't have this front and center on your website, you're going to want to add it. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But we want people to get to your site and to feel like they belong and that you're going to understand them. And so here's some examples of differentiators of advisors that I work with. So the first is helping business owners retire with true wealth. And so this advisor helps business owners not only to sell their firms and retire with financial security, but to balance the other aspects of their life that give them true wealth so that they're happy, they have enough time with their family, they're healthy. And so he works on all of those fronts. The second is retirement planning for certified registered nurse anesthetists. Now, this advisor's wife is a CRNA, and he only works with CRNAs to help them do retirement planning. So it's a very specific niche, and that's his differentiator. Finally, the third example is guiding breast cancer survivors to financial independence. Now, a lot of times breast cancer can be financially devastating to women, and so this particular advisor, who is a survivor of breast cancer, works with breast cancer survivors to help them, pay off their medical debts and set up a path to financial independence. So whatever your differentiator is, it should be front and center on your website so that everybody understands it. And even people who don't become clients can still refer you business because they understand exactly what you do and who you serve. So the visitor's reaction that we're going for with your differentiator is, this advisor will understand my unique situation. Now, how many times have you wanted to hire somebody, whether it be, an electrician or a lawyer or an accountant, but you really want them to get you? You don't want to have to explain your background and your story. It's so important when working with a financial advisor for prospects to feel like you'll already understand somebody like them. So maybe you work with employees at their company, or maybe you work with people who are of their profession. If they're a dentist, you work with other dentists. That way they don't have to explain their backstory and all of their specific circumstances to you. You already get it. You're already an expert in their field. And so that's the reaction that we're going for with adding your differentiator. So here's an example of CRNA financial planning, and you can see it says comprehensive financial planning for certified registered nurse anesthetists. Bam, that's what we want to see on your homepage. Here's another example. Cordant helps Intel employees manage their wealth with strategy, direction, and intention. That's exactly what they do and who they serve. So that's a great example of adding a differentiator to your website. So what's your differentiator, and is it on your homepage? So the second tool I want to introduce you to is a sample financial plan. Now, it's so funny to me that, advisors are basically at the end of the day selling financial planning, but how many advisors have a financial plan on their website for prospects to see what they're buying? Very few advisors do, and it's just something that we've all overlooked, but it's really important. And if you do add it to your website, it will get a ton of traffic because your average prospect is really interested in seeing what they're going to be buying when they work with you. So here is a top advisor's website, and you can see there's a video, and then right below the video there's a button, see a sample financial plan. And that button, I've looked at this advisor's Google Analytics, that is the most pressed button on their website. So most of the traffic that comes to their homepage clicks on that button. So it's such a popular button to add to your site, and people are so interested in it, and so it's a no-brainer. Depending on what financial planning software you use, it's easy to create a sample financial plan, to upload it as a PDF to your site, and to add a button to your homepage. Here's an example of a financial plan post. So this advisor's page on their site that explains the financial plan, how he works to create it, and the benefits of the financial plan. And then here you can see he works with eMoney, and so this is an eMoney sample financial plan PDF on his site. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel in creating the sample financial plan. It just needs to be on your site somewhere for people to look at. So the third tool I want to talk to you about is case studies. And so this is such an important area of your website to add to, because as you know, we can't have any testimonials, but people are still wondering, who do you work with and how do you help them? And so a case study is something that you can get through compliance that is, in line with FINRA's rules, because you're giving an example of a client that you've worked with and how you worked with them and the benefits you provided. So you're not promising investment returns, you're not making recommendations without knowing suitability, you're just explaining, in one example, here's how I helped somebody. And so it's a really powerful thing to have on your site, because the typical consumer expects a testimonial. They don't really understand that advisors can't use testimonials, so they're looking for something like this, some kind of social proof. So we want your case studies, maybe 3 case studies on your website, to talk about which types of clients you serve and how you help. So you can see on one of the advisors I work with, here's their Google Analytics, you can see the case studies page on their website has gotten almost 4 times the traffic per month as any other page on their website. So that's incredible. You can see there's just such a huge demand for this information, and so it's really powerful to add to your site. Here you can see 2 examples of case studies, and this of course will depend on your style and who you work with, but here's one case study that tackled complex executive compensation, and this advisor works with executives to negotiate compensation and basically maximize the benefit of their compensation package. And so this is the story of one of the clients they worked with. The second case study here is managing an unexpected inheritance. And so that's something that this advisor works with, and it details his expertise and how he helped one client manage an unexpected inheritance. So the fourth tool that I want to talk to you about is making it personal. And so I want you to add a make it personal blog or video to your website. And this has a huge impact in your virtual first impression. So helping people decide, do they like and trust you as an advisor? And if they decide, they watch a video of your, personal story, and they decide that they like and trust you, it's so much easier for them to take the next step and schedule an appointment. They feel like they've met you, and they feel like they're ready to take the next step with you. And so what I want you to really try to capture in a personal blog or video is, what's your motivation? So this starts with Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why. I want you to answer the question, why do you do what you do? Why did you become an advisor? Why do you stay in the business? What drives you every day? And so when you tell your story about why you do what you do, it really helps people understand your motivation and understand why you care, and help them to trust you. Here's an example of a video that's a fantastic video of Steve Hutchison, and he does a great job explaining why he does what he does and why he comes to work every day. And so you can check out the link below and watch the actual video, but it's very powerful. He tells his story of how he grew up poor with a single mother, and he decided that he wanted to help others in his situation find financial security so that nobody had to suffer like he suffered when he was younger. And so it's a very powerful video. I encourage you to watch it. And here's a blog post version of the same idea. Now, this advisor has a great story. He became a financial advisor because when he was 12 years old, he had a Christmas when he, was a child, and that he'll never forget. That Christmas, he didn't get any gifts. None, zero, zilch, nada. And his family was just not in a position to give any gifts that year, but it made such an impression on him that he decided he was going to become financially independent, and he was going to help guide other people to become financially independent. And it's a great story, and it's really why he does what he does every day, and it helps people to understand who he is and what drives him. So adding this personal story is key to helping people get to know you. The fifth tool I want to talk to you about is a Get Started Now meeting page. And so this is probably the most important tool if you only do one of these actions. So what we're trying to do with this meeting page is lowering the emotional stakes of taking the next step with you. So we want to offer people an easy next step for them to take 24 hours a day. So if they're on your website in the middle of the night and they have a sense of urgency that they know they want to get their finances in order, we don't want them to have to wait until the next day to call your office. We want them to be able to book an appointment on your calendar right then, or at least request an appointment through, a Get Started Now form. And so what we want to do on this page is lower the emotional stakes by explaining to them exactly what they should expect. So that includes how you typically start working with clients. Maybe you have an introductory phone call that you do to find out if the client is a good fit. Or maybe you bring them into the office and have a 1-hour meeting. Whatever your process is, we want to explain it to prospects. We want to tell them what they can expect. So it'll be a 30-minute phone call where we'll discuss whether or not we're right for each other. We'll want to talk about what they should bring, the questions you'll review, and exactly how they can get started now. So do they book an appointment? Do they request a phone call? Do they send you information on their financial background and you'll get back to them? How do they get started? What are the next steps? So here's some example Get Started Now meeting pages. You can see on the left, this advisor offers a free 30-minute introductory meeting, and there she discusses that, basically her financial process. She offers free recommendations for your financial plan, and she discusses what she would offer if you do decide to hire her. And so that's her free 30-minute introductory meeting. And there's a link, that pink button there is to schedule a call on her calendar. So it's really easy for people to schedule a 30-minute phone call without, having to think about it too much. And on the right, this advisor works with Texas A&M faculty, and so he has a 3 things, no strings retirement plan assessment consultation. So he's super familiar with the Texas A&M retirement package, and so he encourages people to fill out this form where there's a few questions about their specific package, and then there's a free consultation where he'll make recommendations to maximize their benefits package. And so these are the 2 examples of great Get Started Now meeting pages to really make it easy for people to take the next step. So now I'll pass it over to Jay, and he's going to walk you through the psychology of website engagement.
Welcome to the webinar that deals with engaging visitors on your website. First off, a little bit about myself. I got started in the business in 1999. I worked for about a decade between both Morgan Stanley and Merrill Lynch before going independent. During the financial crisis, I went back to school while still being an investment advisor and got a master's degree in applied economics. It was during this time that I became familiar with behavioral finance, which is really about how psychological factors influence our financial decisions. And since then, I've become a well-known speaker, an author of the Amazon bestseller, The Emotional Investor, and a coach to financial advisors, helping them put the psychology into their practice. As far as the webinar today, we're going to first discuss MIT's Age Lab findings, and we're going to apply that to your website and learn how you can engage your visitors more. And finally, we're going to finish with a few comments about how to differentiate yourself from both the low-cost providers and the advisor down the street. MIT Age Lab took a look at who they believe is the financial advisor's #1 competitor. And they found that it's the financial media. And that's because the media is loud and it's 24/7. The media distracts our clients and it keeps their attention. So they asked the question, what can advisors do to win back and retain their clients' attention? And they found that it's all in the messaging. They said that messages need to be easy, smart, and fun. Those are the types of messages that engages us. Now, when it comes to making financial decisions, we can be influenced by one of 2 factors, either rationality and logic or psychological factors. Now tell me, what do you think? Are our economic decisions, investor decisions, are they influenced more by rationality or more by psychological factors? Most people say well over 50% of our decisions are influenced by psychological factors. And a well-known study has found that 70% of economic decisions are influenced by psychological factors. So ask yourself, what percentage of tools that you're using today use psychological factors? And the answer is less than 5%. So what we want to do is we want to start incorporating some of these psychological factors in our practice so we can actually influence our clients' economic decisions. Now, when it comes to your website, I want you to think about it being really your online marketing page or flyer. And we want to consider the questions. Number one, what do you want to project? And perhaps more importantly, what do you not want to project? And let's start with the website don'ts. Most advisors will say that they want their clients to ignore daily market movements. In fact, I haven't ever spoken with an advisor that says anything contrary to that. Yet when you go onto most financial advisors' websites, what do you find? You find a market watch, some sort of quote. So you're explicitly telling them to ignore daily market movements, but yet you're providing them a tool that allows them and encourages them to watch the market. How about telling clients that you want them to focus on their long-term plan? Hey, this sounds great. This is what most advisors want to do. And yet many times on our websites, we'll put up a report such as market perspective is the recent rally for real. So while we're telling them to focus on the long term, we're constantly feeding them information about short-term outcomes and short-term projections. In this case, what happens is the message on our website is not what we are telling them. And we need to make sure that the messaging is the same across the board. Just because an article or a feature or tool is available for your website doesn't mean you should put it on your website. You should only put on your website those things that reflect what your values are and how you want your investors to invest. So when it comes to the website and the online marketing page and flyer, I want to spend some time talking about this here. I want you to picture that you're in an exhibit hall, right? Like we go to these big conferences, and when you go to these exhibit halls, you see different vendors, mutual funds, SMAs, maybe some technology solutions, and they all want a couple minutes of your time. Now, I want you to picture that now you're the vendor as a financial advisor, and prospects are walking through here, and you want to get their attention. And you know that if a prospect speaks with you, they're going to go speak with maybe 100 other advisors. So you have maybe 1 minute with them, and you can give them one flyer. What is it that you would put on that flyer to grab their attention? Assuming they're going to go home with 100 flyers and go through it as they select their financial advisor, what's going to make you stick out? It's that type of thinking we want to put into our website, because isn't that really what our website is? It's simply our online marketing flyer. Except we're not limited to just who showed up at the exhibit hall today. This is up 24/7. So we want to ask ourselves, what's the end goal of the website? What do we want clients or prospects to get out of it? Do we simply want it to be information for clients? Do we just want it to be a portal where they can log on and view their accounts and maybe some research? Do we want to have our website more as a prospecting tool, so that way we can get a call or an email from an interested prospect that may turn into a client? Or is our website really just to have something there? The layout and content of your website should reflect what your end goal is. So when it comes to the focus of your website, the best thing to do is to draw it down to 3 things. So what 3 things do you want to project? Perhaps you want to project yourself as a trusting individual, or maybe you have a niche market that you want to focus on, and perhaps it's a differentiator, right? How you're different from everybody else. Now, as you're answering those questions, you also want to consider, do other advisors say that same thing? After all, tell me about a financial advisor's website that says that they're not a trusting individual and they're about to churn their clients' accounts. So what you believe and what you want to project may be the same as other advisors. The key here is to do it in a way in which you are different from others. When it comes to engaging visitors on your website, you want to understand that every scroll and click is a barrier. It's a hurdle. What we want to do is we want to make sure that our important stuff, our main message on each page doesn't require a scroll or a click. This is the stuff where we have to engage them so they'll want to scroll and click. And this is especially important on the home page because your home page is going to be your most hit page. And many advisors will have a beautiful graphic on the home page, and then all the important stuff will be under it, meaning people will have to click or scroll to read anything that's of importance. So you want to consider what people are seeing before there's a scroll and click, and is that content engaging, and or does it have a specific call to action so they'll want to scroll and click. Here's a typical website of a financial advisory firm that I found just through Googling. Obviously, I blacked out their logo and their contact information, but if you notice here, you can't tell what this company does or what their mission statement or value proposition is. If I had to guess, I would think that they're in the commercial real estate market. But no, this is actually a financial advisory firm. And it's very hard to see by the menu. This is actually fairly poorly done. But on the menu, notice it does say Market Watch. So the only thing I really know at this point is that I can watch the market through this website. So maybe it's a competitor to MarketWatch.com or Yahoo Finance. And it looks like I can request a quote. So request a quote for what? I'm not too sure, but obviously they're a broker in something. Now, I don't think this financial advisory firm would want somebody to take that away from their homepage, and yet that's what it's telling me. And that's why it's very important to put time and thought into your website and think about the psychology of the website. Now, once you have your website rolling, obviously you've got to put content on it. Now, with content, understand that less is actually more. This is supposed to be a flyer. It's supposed to grab somebody's attention, not a thesis. So if you have some things that you want people to learn more about, give them an overview and then hyperlink to learn more and put the thesis, if you will, on another page. But we have to give them a little taste of it first, and it can't be too long. If people see lots of words, lots of paragraphs, they're unlikely to read it. But if it's a short paragraph to get them hooked, with a hyperlink that says learn more, then they have the option that if it in fact engages them, they can now click and learn more about it. And with content as well, less is more. And the question is, what is most important to you? And it's about quality, not quantity. Here's a screenshot that I took from a financial advisor website who happens to be part of a marketing library. And many advisors do this. So you think, if it's part of a library, I'm going to put it up there. But put yourself in your client's or even a prospect's shoe. If you saw this on somebody's website, seriously, would you click on any of this? It looks like this advisor is just trying to impress everybody by linking as many articles as they can in here. It would be much more effective if your goal was to engage somebody, to have maybe 2 or 3 only and call it something like Joe's favorite articles, assuming your name is Joe, right? The idea is if there's only 2 or 3, the client or prospect will say, oh, wow, these are the 2 or 3 that Joe thinks are most important. So again, less can be more when it comes to actually engaging somebody. What we want to do is make sure that everything is easy on the eyes. We want to make it attractive, have good spacing, because if somebody pulls up a web page and there's too much words there, it's too busy, the initial instinct is to click away. So again, the question is, are you trying to impress somebody with the amount of stuff you can put on one web page, or are you trying to engage them? And engagement is a psychological factor, so we want to make sure we're considering this as we design and put things on our website. When it comes to differentiating yourself, most advisors will have something like About Me on their website, and that is crucial. That is crucial. Obviously, you want to have that. But rather than just give a basic bio, I suggest you talk about why you're in business. Why are you a financial advisor? What is your passion behind it? Do you have a story? Is it something that your parents did? What is it that's personal, that's different about you that you can now put on there? So rather than just talk about the degrees you have and how long you've been in business, now you're telling a little bit of a story. You're actually allowing the prospect or client to get to know a little bit about you and what makes you tick. So think about the one takeaway. If somebody reads a short paragraph about who you are, what do you want them to think when they leave? And 5 minutes later, what's the takeaway you want to have stick out about you? What is that? So that would be my recommendation as you're considering what to write for the About Me. Your value proposition. This is perhaps one of the most difficult things for advisors to do. I spend a lot of time in the Emotional Investor Network coaching advisors and helping them identify their value proposition. This needs to be unique, it needs to be direct, and it can't be cheesy. If it's cheesy, it's going to sound good, but it's not going to be true. So we want to make sure that we really put some time and effort into this. And really, we want to try to identify and define a different approach. Many advisors do things the same way. That's true. But what we want to do is deliver it. We want to frame it a little bit differently from everybody else. Remember, people are hiring you. So it's important that you show some personality and that you show a little bit of perhaps humor and passion behind what you're doing, so that way they will engage with you a bit more. So thanks for tuning in to my webinar. I hope you enjoyed it, found something of value. My extension to you, my invitation to you, is a free 30-minute coaching call where we can talk about the psychology of the website, we can talk about investor behavior, whatever's on your mind. Allow me to personalize some of this behavioral and psychological content to your practice. All you need to do is email me, jay@theemotionalinvestor.org, and let me know you'd like a free call, and we'll set something up. I look forward to speaking with you.
So much, Jay. We really appreciate your expertise. So the next thing that I want to talk about is how to get started on implementing the 5 tools that we discussed today. So the 5 tools are Your Differentiator, See a Sample Financial Plan, Case Studies, Make It Personal blog or video, and your Get Started Now landing or meeting page. And so it's easy to get started. What you do is just create an individual page on your website for each of these 5 tools, and then you'll want to add each of them to your homepage. So it's really important to get all 5 of them front and center on your homepage where most of your traffic is coming to, so that people can click on the link that is most appropriate for them and that they're most interested in. And so you can see one high converting website here where he actually has all 5 tools. He has his differentiator here, their financial life advisors, and the video talks about what makes them different. See a sample financial plan right under that. And then our unique process talks about their case studies. Up in the upper right hand corner, he has a next step to schedule a phone call. And so everything is right here front and center. And so it's really important to add this. And then the video also talks about his personal story. And so they have all 5 tools on their homepage. And this is an incredibly powerful site for them. Most of their leads come to them from their website. You know, most advisors out there will say that their leads come to them through referrals. That's not true for this advisor. This advisor gets most of their leads through their super high converting website, which is awesome. So if you're having trouble, implementing these 5 tools, I want to give you one free gift to get you started today to improve your conversion rate, not only today, but for years into the future, and to make your marketing even more powerful. Because I know a lot of advisors are spending a lot of time and money driving traffic to their website. So if we could double your conversion rate, it will really improve your marketing ROI, not only now, but years into the future. And so if you need help, go to indigomarketingagency.com and we'll help you get started implementing these 5 tools. So this limited time offer will create your differentiator. So I'll work with you to create what makes you different and add it to your homepage. We'll add a custom sample financial plan page to your site and add a button that goes to that page to your homepage. We'll add custom case studies and link that to your homepage. And then we'll write your own Make It Personal blog post or video script for you to record. And we'll add your Get Started Now landing page. And so normally this is $1,000, but for people watching this webinar, it's only $750. So if you'd like help getting started, go to indigomarketingagency.com/offer, save $250 today. So I do have a limit to the first 15 advisors, so definitely get over to that and claim your spot now, and I look forward to working with you. If you want to learn more about marketing, take our exclusive online courses, go to indigomarketingagency.com courses, and we have courses on everything from LinkedIn to Google Analytics to search engine optimization to how to improve your website. Sign up for my free webinars and my newsletter. I send weekly marketing tips out by email, and I also send a monthly webinar like this one. So go to indigomarketingagency.com/newsletter to get on that list. Ask me a marketing question anytime by emailing Claire@indigomarketingagency.com and connect with me on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn, and I'm really active on there sharing marketing tips and tricks for advisors. And so if you're on LinkedIn, go ahead and connect with me on there. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks to special guest Jay Moreland, and I hope you enjoyed the webinar.